بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
هذه مدارس الجامعة حبا تروي الدرب تعليما وخيرا، نجوز الدرب حبا للمعالي وثاني دفعة كنا البدورا. فهذه مدارس الجامعة حبا تروي الدرب تعليما وخيرا، نجوز الدرب حبا للمعالي وثاني دفعة كنا البدورا، دفعة كنا البدورا.
نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. As with globalization and the world as it's becoming now is becoming a smaller place, when we're having discussions in what we feel are small circles in privacy, or even placing things on websites or comments, what we fail to realize is social media, websites, videos, they're not now just going out to a small group of people, but it's going out into the wider world. So as it's going out to the wider world, how we speak and in the manner in which we say things has to also be taken into consideration. So Ulama in particular, and those who are students of the Sharia, need to have more of a global outlook. They need to be taking into consideration that their message can be heard by many individuals outside of their normal circle. So I may sit in Bradford in front of my congregation of individuals who probably come from similar backgrounds to myself, with similar interests like myself, and I'm able to share something with them, and I may then place that recording or that text onto a website or on some social media platform, only sharing it with this small circle of individuals. And what happens is obviously that gets out into the wider public. And this is something which we may not be that media savvy about and we may not be that aware of, but our message is not something which is now restricted to our normal circles as which we're used to. So we're still giving our message out into our smaller circle of influence, but what we're failing to realize is the message is going far and wider than that. So we need to be in anticipation to that, be aware that our message can be picked up by anybody and everybody. So for that reason we have to be careful in the language that we use, because this language can be misunderstood, even though clearly our message is not to upset or offend anybody, but when you are within a close circle of friends, you may drop your guard and you may say something which could be misunderstood by somebody and construed to be a lot worse than what you actually intended, and what may be said in tongue-in-cheek, what may have been said as a joke, what may have been said at the time of the moment, can easily be taken out of context and broadened out into some other agenda altogether. So even though we're still in our small little circles, we need to understand that as soon as our message is out, it's a public message, it's out into the wider world, and we are obviously reaching out to people who may not be coming from our normal sort of immediate circle. So our methodologies, our practices, our words, how we use them, and also how we think also needs to be taken into consideration. We have somewhat of a blinkered view or blinkered understanding, and we need to sort of open our minds up a little bit and look beyond our streets and look beyond our cities and start to see the world for what it is. We're no longer we haven't been for a long time, but we're still using the same sort of methodologies as we may have done, our predecessors may have done, writing in villages and small cities in the Indo-Pak world. We're no longer in that climate, and our influence can be much greater if we were to become aware of who and who we're speaking to and how we are speaking. So it's a short message really to sort of take a step back and reflect over what kind of message do I want to get out, because we could potentially be closing doors, burning bridges, building walls with communities and with individuals from our own community by saying something or by adopting a particular view or adopting a particular understanding. So I think what I'm saying is we need to sort of open up a little bit and start to see and what kind of communities that are out there and how we can engage with these communities and have more of a global outlook. We need obviously some level of leadership, and as the modernization of the world is taking place at a rapid level, and this modernization is not only affecting technology but it's also affecting society, then we are at an enviable position here living within the West, even more so than our contemporaries living within Indo-Pak and even within the Arab world, because the influence that Western culture and Western society is having on the world is second to none. And this, it's something that we're used to. It's something that we've been born and raised in. It's something that we can connect with. It's something that we understand very well. And Islam itself needs to respond to these global changes which the Western culture itself is influencing. And in order to be able to do that, we need to be able to send a message which takes all that into consideration. So those of us who are living within the West need to have this more global outlook. We need to have more of an open outlook in terms of how and which way, which direction Islam in terms of its practice will go in over the next 10, 20, 30 or so years, because this influence will then slowly peter into the Middle East and within Asia. Appreciate some pockets will remain untouched, but they will be few and far between. So having a global outlook, taking into consideration cultural changes, being able to rise to the challenge, because in many places what we're seeing is some of the cultural changes which are taking place are having a negative moral effect upon individuals. Depression is as high as it can ever be. Alcohol misuse is as high as it has ever been. Drug misuse, all things of this nature, lack of contentment in one's life. These are the response, you could say, or these are the side effects of a materialistic attitude, a materialistic kind of mindset, which has obviously been brought about, particularly now within the Western world, and it will make its way across into the Eastern world as well. And we're quite fortunate because we are at the forefront of that. And being at the forefront of that, it's our responsibility to be able to give remedies to these ailments, to these side effects of materialism. And if we can be in the right place at the right time, then we can be leaders to the rest of our contemporaries throughout the rest of the world, who will also feel the tsunami and feel the waves of this in years to come. So my message to end on is to say we're in an enviable position. We should look at this as an opportunity more than anything else. We should broaden our understanding and understand what potential influence we can have. And once that reflection has taken place, and once we've understood that better, we can have a greater influence on how society develops over the coming decades. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.